Hey guys, Will here, and welcome to this tutorial on how to do basic basing for your miniatures. In front of me you see this Genestealer here. This is the one I painted up for my painting a Tyranid Genestealer tutorial, and in keeping with the theme of that, which was all about keeping it very basic and simple, I'm going to be doing very basic basing on this. So this is going to be the kind of video that will be helpful if you're fairly new to the hobby or you've not really done much with your bases in the past. This isn't going to be sort of an advanced tutorial, so if you've got kind of your own way already that you're quite happy with on how to do basing, this probably isn't going to be of any use to you. But if you're looking to step up the quality of your basing from just painting it a colour, or you're fairly new to the hobby, then this might be an interesting video for you to watch. Now, what I've done with the model already is obviously painted him, and also these little details on the base that are sort of plastic moulded on. I've painted them because they're really part of the model for our purposes. And then I'm going to show you how to do a nice simple base. Now, there's a couple of things you're going to need for this. Firstly, you're going to want some sort of junk brush, a brush that's coming to the end of its life, or you could use just a really cheap brush that you picked up from the supermarket. I've got a Citadel one here just because it's the one I had available. Like I say, it's in a bit of a bad condition, but for what we're doing, that's fine. You're going to need a couple of colours of paint. I've got Abaddon Black here and Dawnstone, but you can switch the colours out depending on obviously what colour you want it to come out. And then a couple of extra resources. PVA glue. Now this stuff is dirt cheap. I picked up this whole 500ml bottle for £1.50 in Asda, and that will last me for ages. And some gravel or sand of some sort. Now this is aquarium gravel. This was about £3.50 in Pets at Home, but you could use any sort of like sandpit sand, or hell, even go out to the beach and find some actual like beach sand. That might produce a nice effect. But the point is, it's just some sort of sand. And yeah, so then we are going to go ahead and do this. Now, colouring wise, I'm going to be doing kind of a black to grey, kind of ash waste type feel, but it could represent quite a lot of different things within sort of a sci-fi universe, whether it be the ash wastes of a hive world, sort of dusty underground sort of setting, or a war-torn city. Quite a lot of different things would look like this depending on what other details you add to your base and to your miniatures. But I'm just going to go ahead and cut for a second just to sort a couple of things out, then come back and show you how to do it. Okay, so I've got a bit of glue on my sort of paper towel there, and to start with I'm going to apply that to the whole of the top of the base. So just using your old brush, because this can get a bit sticky and it doesn't always come out of the brush perfectly. So you just want to paint that over the whole area, being careful not to get it on the model. You generally don't want to get it on the sides of the bases. Some people might prefer that look, but personally I prefer to have the sides distinct from the top of the base. I'm just going to go ahead, paint all that around here. Like I say, being careful to not miss any bits, because you're going to use this to hold the sand in place, which is why I'm brushing it on rather than trying to squirt it on. There we go. So this does take a few minutes to dry, so you don't have to worry about being overly quick. But there we are, that's some glue applied. Wash off our brush. Then I'm going to dip it in the sand. So I've got the sand open here. Dip the model in just so the whole base is covered by the sand. Pull them out, give him a quick shake to remove any loose bits. And there you can see the sand is stuck to the whole base. And then I'm just going to pop him down here to dry. Now this can take quite a while to do. I would say err on the side of caution with drying time, because you don't want it to still be wet when you come to the next step. So give this guy at least an hour. Obviously that will depend on temperature, humidity, etc., but you want at least an hour to dry. So once that's all dry, the next thing you want to do is start painting it. And the first colour for this is going to be Abaddon Black. And what I've done is I've got some of it on my palette, and I've already watered it down more than I normally would, because you want this to have a fairly moist consistency. And the idea is that you just paint it on over the whole of all the sand, and this particularly watered down paint will run into all the cracks. It's not quite a wash, it's sort of halfway between a wash and painting. It will run into all the cracks, and not only will it obviously colour it, but also once it's dry it will act to seal the sand in, because although it's glued on there, it will still come off quite easily. So we actually want to seal that. Seal that in using the paint, and that will give a nice solid finish that won't brush off easily at all. I mean, I've had models that I've painted 10 years ago using this technique, and the sand still hasn't come off. So yeah, that's all that. So do a nice layer all over the top. Don't worry about splashing it down the sides. We're going to come back and tidy those up later. But yeah, there we go, that's all that. And then you want to give it really good long time to dry, because you've added quite a lot of water to this, before we go on to the next step. Okay, so that's dried now, and that will have sealed all the sand in, so it's not going to brush off. But it hasn't quite given perfect coverage in terms of colour. It still looks a little bit sort of like sand painted black rather than really proper black. So I'm going to give it a second coat of Abaddon black. Now for this you don't need to water it down as much, it's just a case of applying it like you normally would to any textured surface, just slightly watered down so that it flows properly. Also, not watering this down as much will mean that it dries a little bit faster as well, so you won't have to wait so long between stages. So this is just going to give it a really nice solid sort of base to work from, because the next thing we're going to do is a bit of a dry brush over this. But there we go, that is all done now. Sorry, you're probably seeing more of my finger than the model there. There we go, that's better. So yeah, that's all primed properly now. Let that dry and then we'll come back and dry brush it. So now I'm going to dry brush the base in Dawnstone. This is the sort of perfect time to use dry brushing, because you've got a really sort of textured surface here. Now I'm actually using the layer paint version of Dawnstone for this. There is a Citadel dry Dawnstone, but I haven't got that yet. To be honest, you can still use the layers for dry brushing. It's just a case of making sure you remove the right amount of paint from the brush before you start doing it, to make sure that it is a dry brush and not like an overbrushing. But you know, you could get hold of the dry version for this as well, that would be fine. And for this first step, I'm going to give it quite a heavy dry brush. So we're sort of not completely drying the brush out almost, just go in sort of as a heavy dry brush to pick out all this detail. And as you can see there, the dry brush is turning the raised parts of it into this sort of medium grey colour, while the deeper recesses are still in the darker colour. So yeah, there we go, giving our base a nice textured look. And this doesn't take long at all to dry. In fact, I find it takes longer to wash off the brush than it does to actually wait for a dry brushing to dry. So that's all done. I'm just going to clean off my brush, let that dry, and then come back and show you the next step. Okay, so I'm just going to give this one more dry brush onto the base now. I originally only showed two colours in the intro, but I'm going to use a third colour here, Administratum Grey, which is a lighter shade of grey. I'm just very gently brushing this over where it's already been dry brushed on stone. The idea here being that it will just pick out the very raised surfaces while still leaving some of the original dry brush of Dawnstone showing, and that will just give the base a nice finish to it. There we go. It's a nice sort of realistic three-dimensional look to the sand, and that is that. Then to finish the model off, just going to use Dryad bark, this sort of nice almost chocolatey brown, and just paint all around the rim of the base there, just to finish it off. I don't know why really I use brown for this, I just find that it always gives quite a nice nice finish, just painting the edge in this colour. And yeah, just paint that all the way around. Might need 2 coats to get really good coverage on this, but yeah, that's basically the final step. And there we go, that's all finished off now. So as you can see, this is a nice simple but effective way to get your models based, and relatively cheap and quick to do as well. So I hope you guys found this video interesting, and thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you again soon. Bye.